Hi everyone, and welcome back to my No Buy Year. In today's video, we're going to be exploring the idea that the algorithm makes conscious consuming impossible. Now, when I say the algorithm makes conscious consuming impossible, I'm referring to consuming online media, but it also does relate to consuming stuff because the algorithm serves us all of these materials that influence us to then buy real things or feed a shopping problem. With this video, I'm also kind of launching the beginning of a new series on my channel. The premise of this series is to document my decreasing phone time and social media consumerism, online media consumerism, technology consumerism, all of that takes up much more of my time currently than I would wish for it to in my everyday life. Now, I don't think I'm the only one who would classify herself as addicted to her phone a little bit, or addicted to online content, online media. And I did a video where I checked in on my phone every time I was picking it up to use it. So that might be the next one in this series. But I realized I never really introduced that premise and I didn't want to just drop that in out of nowhere. So you'll see the extent of where my phone time started. And by the time I'm posting these, it's several weeks, if not a month or more into the future, into the past. So I might have an update to share with you in the edits or in the description below, whether or not any of this has made an impact on how much time I'm spending on my phone and online media, and what I might have been doing instead. But to get back to the main idea of this video, the algorithm makes conscious consuming of content impossible. I would also argue that it makes conscious creation of content really difficult as well if a creator is trying to pander to the favor of the algorithm. But let's get back to the side of the consumer, because to be honest, as a creator, I have not really tried to pander to the algorithm, so I don't really know what it's like to try to pursue that in an active way, at least not this year. Maybe we'll try that next year. So to start off this discussion or exploration of the algorithm and serving us content, I will take you through basically what my algorithm has shown me over the course of especially my No Buy year, but we'll start from before that. So in the early days where I was watching YouTube, I started with the big YouTubers, you know, Jenna Marbles, the big British YouTubers, Zoella, Tanya Burr, and then I kind of got into the luxury / Amazon infomercial style YouTubers like Shea Whitney and Brittany Vassar, just because they had fun personalities and it was kind of like getting some girl time. And I might have been at times of my life where I didn't necessarily have a lot of friend girl time in real life, or I was otherwise quite busy. So you know, during downtimes where I'd be at home and I'd have access to my phone or to a laptop or whatever to watch a video, it would just be some nice company in the background or motivation to do tasks that I didn't love doing, like cleaning. So anyway, I started on this very consumerist side of YouTube was my primary source of media. It still is, hence making videos on YouTube and giving back to the platform where I've spent so much time as a consumer. So I'm on YouTube, I'm watching all this consumerist content, things directly promoted for me to buy, and falling into the trap of buying a lot of this stuff. And then I started getting interested in the more focused content. So this is probably about where I got into fashion content. Some of the YouTubers I watched originally were more beauty-oriented, makeup, and that was the time that I was doing more adventurous makeup looks, probably because I was watching this kind of content. And since I stopped watching it, I've kind of let go of a lot of that experimental makeup tendencies. I still like to do, as I say, wearing no makeup, I still like to do bolder makeup looks occasionally, but it's not nearly as much a part of my life as it was back then. After that, I started watching more specific YouTube niches. I'm thinking about the fashion channels that I used to watch a lot of. And from the surface level fashion content, I kind of got into the more sustainable fashion content and then minimalist fashion content. So the fashion kind of funneled into these other areas of sustainability and minimalism as a whole, and then it kind of branched off from there into general minimalism and general sustainability, so not necessarily related to fashion. And along with minimalism, I guess, came the financial content. So how to be financially savvy, how to become wealthy, how to not buy things to some degree. That's when I kind of discovered the no-buy channels. And then this kind of, I guess, led to a realm of conscious consumerism in a way as well. Content that I was watching, I mean. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily a conscious consumer in those days, that I was consuming the content about it. And nonetheless, I do think consuming the content about it set some of the goals in the back of my mind that I'm now acting on today. So if you're here and you don't think you are yet on the path of conscious consumerism, that's totally okay. I hope you're gleaning little bits of wisdom here to put in your back pocket for later when you're ready to tackle this. And then from these realms of conscious consumerism, sustainability, financial wisdom, minimalism, I then took a little bit of a swerve into the productivity realm. I think some of the minimalist creators are also kind of productivity oriented, or they like to create things, and sometimes they'll share how they manage their time and also their money. There's a lot of overlap. So it came to productivity content, how to manage your time, and also from there, inevitably, the focus starts to shift to minimizing your screen time to become more productive or to live a more minimal, calm, simple values kind of life. And from the screen time discussions, you get to the brain rot side of the internet, where you hear people talking about how bad screen time is and the negative effects of always having things playing on in the background. And here we have where I'm collecting the information, where I have collected the information to embark on the current journey of really cracking down on my screen time. And then finally, after all of this kind of general self-help, in the minimalism, financial wisdom, decreasing your screen time and productivity, I have come to what is my current resting place on YouTube, where the main content that I'm served is philosophy and music, namely classical music or musicians who play classical instruments. And that's kind of where I started. I started with music before I started following influencers on YouTube, like the OG YouTubers, the people, I would be on the platform to watch music. So I kind of have gone full circle with a little bit of philosophy, which I like to consider old historical self-help in a way. This way of understanding humanity and ourselves and these principles is kind of a form of self-help. And some of these transitions in my algorithm you can observe in my playlist of videos that inspire me. I'll put that up here, and you can see where I started with these. I think my first video on this list is a financial conversation about stopping shopping. And I started this by year still watching some of the influencers that were a little more influency, and have since stepped away from and have actually unsubscribed from many of them by now. I know last time I updated you about them, I was still subscribed to several of them and just kind of filtered which content that I would watch. But now I have found the freedom to step away, knowing that it will still be there, that perhaps I was a fellow traveler on their path for a little while, and now I'm on this different path and they're over here, and that's totally fine. And we might rejoin sometime in the future. And I've made peace with that kind of meandering journey where I don't have to stay with the same group of people that I've been on the path with since older times. And I've let go of any feelings of negativity or disloyalty that used to bring me. And it's also kind of freeing myself from the notion of any parasocial relationships online. It's kind of a strange phenomenon online where we interact with each other, but it's not so much interacting with the person. Even myself here on a video, you can see that I'm a person, but you are watching a video, and by the time you watch the video, it's actually not in real time. It's actually several weeks in the past sometimes because of my schedule of doing this and the amount of ideas that I have. By the time I've managed to film and edit and get things out, I might have moved on to the next topic. I might even think some of the things that I've said before are not totally correct. I don't do that on purpose, by the way, but that's just the nature of this mechanism here, this platform. So as much as I would love to be in real life friends with all of you, we're all interacting with the ideas that we express with each other. And again, I'm not discounting the fact that perhaps we can be friends in real life. It might just take a group with chatting in real time. That might be something that I'll try to develop in the future. But for now, it's helpful to remember that whenever I'm watching somebody, it's the ideas that I'm gleaning from what they're sharing. And this can be super valuable, and in a way they do walk with me on my journey. But I'm not having the same level of attachment as I used to before. And that's not to say that the sharing of ideas is not going to give you some of the warm fuzzies, because it really does give me the warm fuzzies when I respond to some of your comments, especially those of you who regularly share your thoughts and stories and ideas with me as I'm sharing with you. It feels like this wonderful reciprocal relationship, and I don't take that for granted at all. It's just this kind of new realm of social friendship in a way. And I guess that's an interesting discussion. At what point does it become truly parasocial? Because I would say that I have genuine care for those of you who have been repeated commenters on my channel. I have a perception of you as a real person, and I have emotions attached to I care about you. I want you to succeed at all of your life's endeavors, and I hope nothing but the very best in your life. I love to hear the stories of your life as well, just as I would like to do so if I was meeting you in person for a cup of coffee or something like that. So at what point does it become a truly parasocial relationship? Because I know you're out there. I know you exist. This might be a conversation for another video, but we've kind of gotten off into the weeds a little bit. So anyway, I was talking about the algorithm and how you can kind of observe my algorithm, where it's gone on the list of videos that inspire me this year. And the latest videos, I think, are more philosophically focused. And some of the videos that I've made at this point have delved into those ideas as well. Thinking of my Literally Can't Even series. The algorithm online makes conscious choice of what we consume very, very difficult. The information gathering that these online platforms do about us to serve us an appropriate piece of following content, something that they think we'll be interested in, is, I almost want to say, predatory, because it removes some of the conscious choice from our process. They say that YouTube used to primarily be a search engine, so you would have to actively search for something. You would be looking for a piece of content before you were able to get sucked into the wormhole of watching videos online. And as the algorithm gets better and better at pinpointing our interests or stalking our information from other areas of the internet, these companies that are owned by the same parent company or the same overlord or whatever, sharing all the information so that we can be targeted to the best capacity that they have with the finest tuned machines that they have to aim at us. It really feels like it takes away some of the freedom of choice and leaves us with really no control over what we end up watching. Now, this might be a slight overstatement because ultimately we have control to put the devices down, to turn away, to not click on a video. However, I think when these forces are conspiring together to keep our interest, it's almost like we have limited resources to fight this kind of thing off. And if we're in a more vulnerable state, tired, worn down, stressed, bored, lonely, hungry, mad, any of these things, we might be more susceptible to taking the path that the algorithm has laid out for us because they know us so well from the information that we've shared with them online through our searches, through what we've bought, through whatever kind of media presence we have. And then as the path is laid out in front of us, we are then shaped by the content we watch. So not only do we shape what is served to us, by consuming it, we are then molded in return. We are exposed to certain ideas, exposed to certain products. And then when we do click on and watch a piece of content, at the end of that, we're served a few more, and it becomes a choose your own adventure where it's like, is this option A or option B? And the thing is, neither of those options are options that we asked for directly. So it's almost like, in a sense, we lose our free will. And I know there's arguments about whether free will exists at all, but I think when it's in a realm that's totally controlled by an algorithm and information, when we're talking about the internet at large, it's not the same as arguing about free will in the world removed from technology. So when I say it's taking away our free will, I'm not referencing whether or not we have it in the first place. And then I do also feel like the algorithm is getting better and better at manipulating us to turn that click or path of clicks into a purchase or into sustained attention on their platforms. So how do we become more mindful about this? Well, that's what I'm trying to do over the next series of weeks, or what I have been trying to do over the past few weeks. And part of this, honestly, might be because the algorithm has served me enough content now about brain rot, being online too much, decreasing your screen time, and different aspects of philosophy, prioritizing living in the real world. And the irony is not lost on me that here I am making a video online about wanting to be offline, wanting to stop being online so much. And to post this video, I'm going to have to edit this on a laptop device and possibly watch it back on a phone or a laptop. And, creation of these videos requires time online. And it's also possible that I wouldn't be making videos had I not watched so many videos myself. In fact, it's not just possible, it's 100% certain that I wouldn't be making videos if I hadn't watched so many videos on YouTube in the first place. And it still kind of blows my mind that now I'm on the other side, as well as consuming the videos. I'm on both sides now. I'm creating content that some people watch and consuming content. And it does feel a little bit better to be giving back, to be providing fodder for the algorithm to serve other people. And I feel a sense of peace, at least, in the sense that I've chosen content that I think is worthy of being promoted. I like to think that my message is a net positive one, my impact on the internet is net positive, and that the types of ideas that I deal with are not going to offend anybody, even if they disagree. I also think that wanting to be a conscious consumer is a universal enough pursuit that people shouldn't really disagree. Not that we can say what people should or shouldn't do. Anyway, to wrap up today, I wanted to share how consuming media, how consuming, let's say, YouTube videos, for me, has been similar to online shopping in many ways. So just like I used to tell myself when shopping that I would buy one last thing to fill this gap in my wardrobe, my makeup collection, my books, my stationery, whatever I was shopping for at the time, the kitchen, it could be anything. Oftentimes I would tell myself, okay, just this one last thing, then I'm going to put away the credit card and I'm going to be done. It's the same with YouTube videos on any given day. I can start watching one video that I've decided to watch. Maybe it's a channel I actively subscribe to, or maybe it's a topic I've looked for by searching. And then something else will come up and it'll be, it'll pique my interest and I'll say, oh, okay, just one more and then I'll be done for today. This one's only 10 minutes. Let's go ahead. We'll do that one more and then I'll be done. Or I'll add this to my watch later list. That's another way that is similar to how I used to shop. I used to add things to my wish list all the time for later, right? And eventually I would go to the wish list, and sometimes I would want to get those things in order to tick the things off the wish list, because removing them wouldn't be a good option at that time, right? That wouldn't be satisfying. I had to remove them through purchasing them. And the watch later list is a very similar phenomenon, or used to be for me, where as soon as I added a video to that watch later list, it became almost as if I must watch it in order to take it off of that list. It was more rare that I would look at the watch later list and reconsider and take things off without watching them. And I think it's almost easier to fall into this trap because you don't pay to watch a YouTube video. And also the notion that you might receive new ideas from a YouTube video for free. Basically, you might receive something positive and valuable, educational, or whatever you're trying to tell yourself you're going to get from this platform, from spending your time here. In my past, a lot of times the ideas would be that I needed to buy something, or I would be influenced from watching a video. And luckily that's not so much the case anymore, but I'm still very much falling into the trap of, oh, I'm gonna watch one more video, or I've got 70 videos on my watch later list, and most of them now are interesting philosophical ideas, and I really want to explore these and give them my attention and learn and be educated and open my mind and have new things to think about. There's no harm in that, right? However, there's an endless stream of content online. The work is never going to be done. The work of consuming all this content is never going to be over. And if we're looking, there's always something to want. There's always something to watch. It's the same with shopping again. When you're looking for something, you can always find something to want. It might not be perfect. It might not make you feel great. You might not feel inspired or motivated after watching some of these videos. You might not even remember what you watched sometimes. But there it is. We consume these pieces of media, sometimes unquestioningly and without evaluating what we really got out of it, whether it was worth the time. And we can't return it. It's not like an article of clothing where if it doesn't fit and doesn't serve us, we can usually return it within a certain time. We can't get that time back. And that sense of FOMO, of fear of missing out if we don't watch that video or don't buy that thing, can sometimes really take hold of us and leave us feeling powerless to do anything else until we oblige that urge and give in to either the purchase or watching the content. Sometimes it's hard to curate our content that we're watching as well. The things that we add to our watch later list, like I said, it's hard to look through those without at least taking a peek at each one of those on the list. It's hard to think consciously, take that moment before we open the next up or the sidebar full of intriguing ideas, to take that moment and set ourselves up for success by asking, what am I hoping to learn from this? What am I hoping to leave with from this? And there are some channels that I do subscribe to and I still watch every video from. And usually it's because I know what I'm going to get more or less from these channels. Or there's a goal that I have that lines up with the ethos of these channels, and I know that by watching a video from this person or this creator, I will get some support in my goal because either they're on the same goal or their ideas totally align, or as close as possible align with the goal that I'm on. For example, most music-related videos will either inspire me to do something with my music or teach me something new that I wasn't totally aware of about different genres of music perhaps, different styles of music, different things I could do with my skills as a musician. And if they don't, even just watching these videos that don't necessarily educate me, give me inspiration because they're in the same field as I am in my professional life. My hopes for my No Buy channel here is that if you're working to be a conscious consumer, every video of mine will have at least one valuable nugget of information to at least inspire you as somebody who's actively trying not to buy stuff this year and beyond, or give you wisdom to motivate you to think about ideas to chew over in your mind to further you in your process of becoming a more conscious consumer, making the idea of not shopping, not buying things easier for you every day with every new idea that you come across on here. It's also a place for you to share, and I'm still the size where I can read all the comments and reply to most of them in a timely manner. So if you want to share no-buy updates, I would love to read them, and I often learn just as much from your stories as you may from, what a presumptuous thing to say, as you might be learning from my stories. There we go. Such is the awkwardness of speaking in a one-sided conversation. I already kind of mentioned how watching content on social media is something we don't really pay for unless we pay for ad removal on YouTube Premium, or I don't know if other social medias have paid options, but essentially it's something that's free. So we can feel like we're getting a good deal by consuming this free entertainment in a way. And sometimes when there's a good deal to be had, it leads to less conscious consumerism, which we know if we've ever fallen prey to sales of consumer goods. Some of the other questions that we ask ourselves when we buy something new can also apply when we're watching media. Things like, where will we put this thing? How will we take care of it? Can be translated as, where will we put this new information? And how will we act on it? Do we have space in our brains to consume these new ideas without being overwhelmed? Do we have time to maybe act on a new idea at this stage of our lives? Or is it just going to be something that we take in and it goes in one ear and out the other, and we're none the wiser and we could have had our 10 to 20 minutes back to do something else? Is there something else more valuable in our lives that we could have spent that time on? Like we ask about money when we're shopping, is there something else that we're saving for, or a better goal for these funds? Is there a better goal for our time? Will we declutter other ideas or mentalities or habits if we bring on some new ones? Is it going to be hard to declutter those old ideas and habits? Is it going to serve us better to declutter those old ideas and habits? Or are we just trying to fit in with the new crowd? And okay, maybe neurological connections are not exactly like that, but it can still be helpful to think about these ideas when we assess the value of the content we're consuming. Watch me release this video and then everybody does a mass exodus from this channel. Anyway, I think that is all I had to share with you today. So the algorithm makes conscious consuming of content very difficult, if not impossible. And my personal goals involve decreasing my screen time, especially on this insidious glowing rectangle where I have racked up hours of screen time every day since I probably got it when I was a teenager. And it's time to move on. It's time to regain control over my decisions, my time, my actions, my information, not be manipulated by the content that's served to me in ways that I don't consciously agree to or intend to bring on before I consume the content. For those of you on a no-buy year, let me know if these ideas have come to you as well, if you've also thought about decreasing your time on social media. Part of that started for me because I didn't want to be influenced to buy stuff. And then I guess the next step has just been, I don't want to necessarily be influenced when I'm not consciously choosing to be, in terms of anything, in terms of how I spend my time, in terms of what ideas I get served. I will say the algorithm has served me some really wonderful content as well, so it's not a blanket bad thing, or it's not necessarily a negative thing to be taken along for the ride for a little bit of the way. but I want to be able to do this in a much more conscious way. I want to be evaluating the information that I'm going to get before I start watching something, and I want to evaluate how I feel afterwards and use that to inform my decisions of whether I watch that kind of thing again in the future. And as always, I hope my content serves you some value and that you can feel like you get something to help you or motivate you when you spend time here with me. And sometimes it can just be a little bit of fun as well. I know maybe we don't have a ton of fun on this channel, but I'm not totally against having fun on the internet. Being lighthearted. Taking it not as seriously. Maybe it's time for a wardrobe fashion video again. That's the last thing. These technology-focused videos will only be on Tuesdays. I was thinking about doing a whole week of this content, but I thought it might get a little bit intense or overly personal in a way, because some of these vlogs, if you will, that involve tracking my daily technology time do get a little bit personal. And I don't want to overload you with that kind of different content. So hopefully this format serves you okay, and that way as well, if you don't want to see this kind of stuff, you can skip the Tuesday video and you know that everything is going to continue as it has been for the other days of the week. All right, with that, I think I've covered all the announcements as well as the main idea for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. If you want to leave any feedback in the comments of how I could improve in the sharing of my ideas so as to perhaps use your time better, here's an opportunity for you to do so below. I promise I won't get offended if there's criticism down there. I know I'm asking for it this time. As long as we're respectful about it, I'm not going to get snarky about it in a future video. All right, I really will say bye now. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.